Welcome back to the Watchman, a continuous study on the book of Esther. Just to get a quick recap of chapters 1 through 4, we have in chapter 1 King Ahasuerus of Persia holding a grand feast. He summons his queen to show her off. She refuses. She's thrown out and exiled from that position. So a competition is made where we know that Queen Esther, a Jewish orphan girl raised by her cousin Mordecai, is elevated to the new queen position. And closer to the end of chapter 1 and 2, we know that Mordecai uncovered a plot of people who were planning to assassinate the king. He informed Esther. Esther therefore informed the king, and the conspirators were executed. We then moved to chapters 3 and 4, where Haman, an official elevated by King Ahasuerus, became enraged when Mordecai refused to bow to him. And in response, Haman convinced the king to issue a decree ordering the annihilation of all Jews in the Persian Empire on a specific date. And the decree is then sent throughout the kingdom. And we know that he cast a lot for the specific day and month that this would occur, which will become very important in later chapters. We know that Mordecai mourns this decree wearing sackcloth and ashes, and basically goes to Queen Esther and pleads with her to go to the king. She's nervous and scared because that could ultimately result in her death if he refuses to accept her. So Esther asks her cousin Mordecai and all the Jews to fast for 3 days and pray while she prepares to approach the king. We know that God is behind the scenes orchestrating this whole thing, and even in the silence, he's there in control. And we know that Queen Esther is placed in this position for such a time as this. So now we're in chapters 5, 6, and 7, and we have bold faith in the face of fear. In chapter 5, 6, and 7, we have Esther courageously going before the king, and instead of making her request immediately, invites him and Haman to a banquet. So she does get scared, and then just basically says, no, I want you to come to a banquet instead. At the banquet, she invites them to a second banquet the next day. Haman, proud of his status, but infuriated by Mordecai's continued defiance, builds a gallows to have Mordecai executed. That night, the king is unable to sleep and has the royal records read to him. He learns that Mordecai had once saved his life, but was never rewarded. The next morning, Haman arrives to request Mordecai's execution, but before he can even speak, the king asks how to honor someone he wishes to reward. Thinking it's for himself, Haman suggests royal treatment. To his honor, the king orders him to honor Mordecai in that way instead of him. At Esther's second banquet, she finally reveals her Jewish identity and exposes Haman's plot against the Jewish people. The king, enraged, orders Haman to be hanged on the very gallows he had prepared for Mordecai. Overview of this: true faith often requires risk. Esther put her life on the line to intercede for her people, demonstrating that trust in God must be greater than fear. Key verse. If you go back to, and I know this is in chapter 4, but it's verse 16b. It has, this is where she asks, do not eat or drink for 3 days, night or day. I and my maidens also will fast in the same way, and thus I will go into the king, which is not according to the law, and if I perish, I perish. She understood that what she was about to do, she could lose her life. And then we know in Esther chapter 7, verse 1, we have, now the king and Haman came to drink wine with Esther, the queen. So she went before him one time, got nervous, invited him to a banquet, got nervous, invited him to a second banquet, and then finally she had the faith to do what she was called to do in her position. So the main point of this is faith requires courage. Esther risked her life to stand up for God's people. Now, approaching the king without an invitation was punishable by death, but yet Esther chose to take that risk to advocate for her people. Her famous words, "If I perish, I perish," demonstrate her willingness to put everything on the line for the sake of righteousness. Through a carefully planned approach, Esther exposed Haman's wickedness, his plot, and helped bring about justice. Now, God calls us to stand up for truth and righteousness as well. Even when it's difficult sometimes or even dangerous, we may face opposition, rejection, or even persecution for our faith. But like Esther, we must have the courage to trust God and act boldly when He calls us. So I hope you were encouraged by these verses read. Just a quick recap of the story of Esther up to this point. I pray that God's sovereign hand is at work in unseen ways in your life. I know you're positioned for a purpose, and I pray that you'll have bold faith in the face of fear, like Esther. Please read chapters 8 and 9 for the next video, and until then, take care, God bless, and be strong.